reign of the Speed Metal Kings, Metallica. With 9 Grammy Awards and 14 nominations, 38 concert tours worldwide, and 11 studio albums that span 4 decades, the Titans of Thrash remain the standard by which all other metal is measured. We begin with a 1984 classic from their second album, For Whom the Bell Tolls, followed by the 1992 tour anthem, Wherever I May Roam. And then, let's turn down the house and light up the stage for the Auburn University Marching Band and their show, Metallica.
Sunday evening once again, and that means it's time for another live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast. This is going to be episode 125 coming your way. Of course, we'll catch you up on all the Auburn news and Auburn potpourri. 2 major topics centralized around the Diamond sports and football topic, even this early in the off season. We're going to get into all those different things right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, people, places, time, things. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience, for us at least, is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. Easier way to say it might be, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much and join us on what we're going to do for episode 125. Back here to catch you up on all things Auburn. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Loomis, and alongside me, the more calm and sane person, not having to deal with the technical difficulty explosion that we just had pre-show, Austin Scott. Thank you for being our sense of calm here.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Those who've been here a while know this laptop has ended up in my lap before. So
sounds so wrong. And if you just joined us, to quote another show, there
has been an issue before of technical difficulties and the opposite of calm. So I wouldn't be too kind, but we're here. We made it. Doesn't matter what time it is if you're listening tomorrow. So we're happy to be here.
We're happy to be here. And that's part of the shenanigans, I guess, and joys of watching this thing made live. If you're able to join us at 9 Eastern time, hopefully on Sunday nights, no matter what it seems like I do or you do sometimes, the little gremlin that comes in here and messes things up and things that aren't even related. Like, that's the craziest thing. And just it's like a cascade effect. But here we are, the Auburn Experience, episode 125. So much to get into today. We're going to have to kind of pick and choose what we discuss. We'll start off with Auburn potpourri, a bunch of smaller Auburn topics that we won't spend our main segments on, but that doesn't make them any less important. Let's start off with probably the most exciting and big news of this week. And it's probably also kind of like, this is going to happen. Men's golf won their regional, not just for the first time, not just for the second time, but for the 3rd time in a row, also hosting at the regional in Auburn, Alabama. And which golf course? Do you remember which one it is? I know it's
it's the Auburn University Club golf course.
Yeah. I figured, but I wanted to make sure they didn't do something special this time around or something different for some reason. But your golf team, as reigning national champions, have been doing very well this season and have been marching towards this postseason to see if they can repeat in a lot of facets in the ultimate prize. But this is the first step, Austin, in that potential repeat, and they are replicating things yet again.
Yeah, a crazy dominant performance by Auburn. Finished the regional under 30 strokes, more than that. I can't remember the exact number, but just absolutely blew out the field. As the number 1 overall seed, you would hope so. I was talking to my brother this week about the results, and he was actually for his work at another regional site. But we both were like, that's just an insane number. Even when you factor in that they play that course, gosh, near every day. They know it like the back of their hands. So you would hope that it was a performance like that, but then to actually go out and do it when it counts the most, 30 some odd strokes under par, just an incredible job for the Auburn golf team, and they're ready to get to the national tournament once again.
Yeah, and obviously you could make a case. Well, of course they play the course, but that's the benefits of being the number 1 seed of host site. But even Coach Kleiner talked about how they changed the holes around on some of the greens this time and really surprised them. So of course, he can just say that, but I trust Coach Kleinert. And it seems like
Yeah.
whoever was managing the course made it difficult for everybody, even the host team. So, Auburn was going to have a challenging regional, and the fact that they did what they did against that level of competition, it only builds that expectations where we're heading to in the actual championship out in Carlsbad, California. Once again, I know we'll all be tuned in as we were last year, sitting on pins and needles, watching the end of that. But the competition is coming up very shortly. And just as a quick shout out, Anna Davis has been competing as an individual for the women's golf. I can't remember if that's over yet or not, but we want to also wish a congratulations to her and wish her good luck and all those different things. It's a good time to be an Auburn golf fan right now. Let's move to some sad news. It's good news in a sense. It is good news because of what he's getting involved in, but it's sad news for the Auburn family. A lot of you will know the name Pruitt in a variety of ways for basketball, for the Auburn Experience. But Chad Pruitt.
This network's been familiar with Pruitt here for a while.
Yes. Certain miniseries that were
for the E2C lifers.
The very first forays we had into anything in the Auburn Experience covering The Bachelor. You'll know the name Maddie Pruitt, who participated in that. And we chronicled that with Dallas Ham and Riley Ham now. I think they were dating at the time.
Yep.
But anyway, her father, Chad Pruitt, who's been a mainstay in the Auburn area, is formerly of Lee Scott, and he came to be with Coach Pearl when he arrived here in different capacities, but as of late has been an official assistant coach, and we've always called him a coach, has decided to retire from the game of basketball and enter a new field going to work with. Is it Unite Us or Unite US?
I believe it's Unite US, yeah.
Unite US, which is a faith-based organization going to college campuses, I believe, and helping promote those type of events for spreading the gospel. And that's been something that's been very important to Chad and his family, and he's been a big part of why that's been so important for the Auburn men's basketball program. So we sit here, Austin, sad to lose him, but in a way, especially for you and me and those that share our faith, very proud of what he's stepping away to do.
No, absolutely. And it was very cool to see, Coach Pearl was asked about Chad and the impact of this in a recent interview, and him to talk about this is something they've discussed for a while. And he knew it was something close to Chad's heart. This organization's been very close to the Pruitt family for a while, and certainly had a big start in Auburn. So Coach Pearl's not surprised by this, and he described it as this was a leap of faith Chad has been praying about taking, and the time was now. Certainly has had a successful career, like you said, in the high school ranks, but also now here at Auburn. He's been with Coach Pearl from the beginning. Credited to him a lot with starting the culture and setting the culture that has been so pivotal for Auburn men's basketball. But like you said, just going to be an incredible move for him and his family. Like you said, we're very proud of him, very proud to know that he's going to commit even more time to spreading the gospel among college students. If you've seen some of these videos and pictures of revivals happening around different college campuses as of late, this organization's had a lot to do with that. So I look forward to following it even more now that he's kind of a full-time part of it. But we certainly wish him the best and hope that they'll be back to Auburn here now every now and then soon.
Yeah, I have a feeling this isn't a goodbye. This is just we'll see you soon.
Definitely
not.
Going to
be a little bit busier. And wow, what a legacy he has left here at Auburn for the men's basketball program. We're going to miss you, Chad, but we're so thankful for you and your family and what you've meant to the Auburn Experience. We're talking about basketball still, but we're going to honor someone that we've gotten a chance to talk about, I feel like pretty often here over the last year or so, a legacy person for Auburn women's basketball, and that is one DeWanna Bonner, who had her number retired or jersey retired, who broke this record, that record, and now, folks, she just keeps doing it. She keeps moving up the list, officially now third all-time on the WNBA scoring. You'll remember her from the great years with Nell Fortner and being the number one overall seed alongside so many other names. But we have yet another record or honor to attach to probably someone that we're going to be talking about when we do that Auburn women's basketball Mount Rushmore sometime in the future.
Oh, absolutely. I think the last time we talked about DeWanna was when she she joined the Indiana Fever. And this is
Yeah.
her first year with the Indiana Fever. I think, Indiana Fever is they are all the buzz right now, right? With
For a
mainly
lot of
because
reasons.
of Caitlin Clark and her prowess. But I mean, in Dewana, and in that segment, I think we talked about the opportunities Dewana will have because there's other individuals on that team who will be a greater focus. Which is crazy to say, even thinking about with Dewana Bonner, now third on the all-time scoring list. She will not be the primary focus, but she'll certainly have more opportunities, and she's making the most of it so far. So hopefully she can keep climbing up that list, and before her tremendous career is over, get to number one.
Yeah, it's definitely a climb. I remember us talking about this in some sense about a year ago or something, and it seemed like the climb to number one was going to be pretty tough, but it's possible, I think, if we did the math correctly on it. But regardless of whether she reached that or not, that we're talking about an Auburn women's basketball player reaching third all-time in WNBA scoring, and that is an incredible thing. So that's a great accomplishment. We're so proud of Dewana, and hopefully we get to continue talking about these type of things for her as her career gets towards the end of all of that. I'm sure we're not the furthest from that as
Sure.
we were in the past. Maybe last thing tonight that we'll have time to discuss in Auburn Potpourri. It's a little bit of baseball news, but we're going to cover the main thing in a second. But baseball news for scheduling for next year. And if it shouldn't be any shock with the bounce back year, the pedigree, the reputation that has been built for the program under Butch Thompson, that premier events would want to have Auburn baseball come back again to be a part of something that they're scheduling for 2026. And that's the Emergy Bank College Baseball Series. I keep trying to throw World in there, but it's College Baseball Series in Dallas at Globe Life Field yet again. This past season, right? Was where we did that this past season. And then like 3 seasons ago or something like that. This is our third time being invited there. And folks, there's always a great group there. I think I read that this is going to be the second of 3 straight weekends for the event now. Did I understand that? Like it's going to be 3 weekends in a row and they're the second one?
I think so. I think it's kind of grown to be they're taking full advantage of the off season for Major League Baseball. I think they had a similar one maybe the week prior this year. But if you remember back this year, this was kind of the beginning of this run for Auburn baseball, where they took down Baylor, they demolished Ohio State, and they knocked off Oregon State, and it looked like it was setting the table for what this team could be. And now where we are in late May, we're definitely seeing the results of that. So really glad to see Auburn back. Dallas is one of those places. Auburn has another big alumni base, so it makes a lot of sense for that sector of the Auburn family to get out there and get to see this baseball team. And these are kind of the new, like it's taken baseball a little while to get there, but these are like the new kind of kickoff non-comp or neutral site kind of things for college baseball, and they seem to be really successful. So really happy Auburn's in it. Not a surprise at all, though.
So some of the teams that will be there, I know I'm missing one, so maybe you can remember off the top of your head, Austin, but Florida State, Kansas State, Louisville, Michigan, Auburn. I think there's a 6th there. So likely probably not playing. Do you know who it is?
Is it Texas A&M?
I think that might be it, actually.
I'm going to try and look it up, but I'm pretty sure there was a
yeah. But typically you play 3 games in this. I don't know how it's going to be this time. So you probably won't get to face everybody. Seen Florida State before quite frequently in baseball.
Who'd you say? Remind me who you had.
We had Florida State, Kansas State, Louisville, Michigan, us, and
Nebraska.
I knew it was another one of them weird. Well, I was about to say Big 12, but that's been a while since they've been.
Who knows what they are? I can't keep up with what these conferences are.
But Auburn obviously is going to be the Southeastern representative for that group on that weekend, and that's going to be a great group to play with and start making your mark for the 2026 season. So put it on your calendars, folks, whether you're in Texas or not. The Tigers are coming back to town, back to Dallas. Just as a quick roundup in Auburn Potpourri, we're not going to have time to discuss it all. Maybe we can come back another day. But there was just so much news this week that I feel like we have to at least mention it. We didn't get to talk about those Charles Barkley comments about NIL. Maybe that's a discussion for another day. War Ready added Chris Moore to their roster. That's a big, big ad, folks. We're really excited about that one. I practiced saying his name, and I'm going to butcher it. Track and field, we had a record broken for Zimbabwe in the preliminaries of the 200 meter by an Auburn person for his home country. Sharamba. I'm just going to say Sharamba. I tried so hard. I really
Oh,
practiced.
go
I
for
promise,
it.
Mr.
Go
Sharamba.
for it.
I know I can't. I had such a rough start to the show. I can't mess it up anymore. But
Man.
he broke his record for not his record, but the record for Zimbabwe in the 200 meter in preliminaries. We talked about women's golf. Anna Davis, Clara Kubalye was added to the women's basketball roster. It's a familiar last name, probably not the same family, but. And then Luke Deal was added to the Lions from the minicamp invite, which is a really cool thing. So a lot of things we didn't get a chance to discuss, but that's the nature of busy weeks, even during somewhat of moving towards the off season for Auburn news. But we always want to catch you up on everything that we can do that. But before we move on here, we want to make sure that we remind you about our friends at Magic Mind. And just because we're moving on into some baseball postseason talk doesn't mean we can't remind you about them. Because look, folks, you've got a lot coming up here that you've got to pay attention to. Baseball season is going to have a lot of your energy and attention, and you need to be focused for it. When I talk about focus, you mean true focus. There's going to be tons of these baseball games that you're going to be watching. Some long nights. You remember some of them Oregon State games that we had? If we get matched, Austin's nodding, he remembers. So that means that you might need a little something extra to help stay focused for your day-to-day responsibilities when you're trying to manage all your time watching baseball. So many things that you can put into your body, but let's be honest, a lot of them are just not going to be good. But you need a mental performance shot from Magic Mind. That performance level that you're looking for is going to be something that they're going to be really good at getting you. That's where our friends at Magic Minds bring this to you. You've heard me talk about them a lot, and we're going to be talking about them a lot during this baseball time for a lot of you Auburn fans out there. There's a limited time offer out there that you can use now if you want to get 48% off your first subscription, 20% off a one-time purchase. You got to use the code Auburn Experience. That is Auburn Experience at checkout. Visit magicmind.com, Auburn Experience. Couple of things for you to know about Magic Mind. Reminder, their performance shot is not a replacement for your daily coffee. In fact, it is best used in addition to your daily coffee, if you're a person that likes that, if you have that persuasion. This is time-release caffeine that helps build on top of what you already use, and it helps you avoid that caffeine crash that comes from some of those other things out there. You can also get 100% of your daily vitamin C and D dose in every bottle, and it's 100% safe and tested through their advisory board of doctors and medical researchers, resulting in their 10-plus year formula that they have developed. Once again, Magic Mind, you want to check them out. Visit them at magicmind.com/the Auburn Experience. Use Auburn Experience at checkout, that code, to get 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. Now let's talk about our main topic this evening, first one at least, and we're going to dive into the spring sports stuff. We're going to be wrapping something up, getting geared up for the end of something else. Let's go ahead and acknowledge what is going to be a good thing, but also it is the end of something, and that is Auburn softball season. The very first year under head coaches Chris and Kate Malveaux has come to a conclusion today as we sit here on a Sunday evening recording. They did fall in the FSU regional. They made things interesting, though, while losing their first game and moving into a situation where it truly is win or go home. They went on to win every single game after that, except the final one they forced today with host seed Florida State. And while the last game it wasn't a bad game, they couldn't really get any runs scoring because they had scored them all previously. They do, unfortunately, lose to Florida State in that penultimate game, and they have now ended their season. So, Austin, we have been doing our best to keep our viewers, our people up to date on how this season is going. Give me just a quick retrospective, or if you have thoughts about the regional, where are we sitting at in your mind after year one concludes for the Malveaux?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the regional was a really great showing. We said last week going into it that it was an opportunity. They were the 2 seed in a Florida State regional that they're familiar with. Auburn softball in a general sense is familiar with, but they had built a lot of momentum. It was not a great start to conference play. Built a lot of momentum on the back half, and sure came out in a really hard fought loss in the first one to South Florida in extra innings. but battled all the way back, took down Florida State in the regional final, game 1 today, forced that necessary game 7. And like you said, the runs just couldn't come. But just an incredible showing of grit and fight toward the end here. I think that this first season of the Malveaux has laid a tremendous platform to kind of springboard off of as they continue to lay their mark on the softball program.
Yep.
I thought S.J. Guerin was everything as advertised that we talked about.
Can we just give her a shout out for just
Phenomenal.
having – how many did she throw today? Hundreds.
She threw 300 pitches over the last 24 hours in three games.
It really puts into perspective. It's a very similar game, softball and baseball, but that I think right there kind of puts into perspective the differences as well, that you can do that and how you can switch in a pitcher and how much you can use them.
It's totally different. And like you said, very similar games, but I don't know if there's shows the two sports, and specifically in pitching, shows a very, very specific aspect of how men and women are different. And and in today's world, that's something we got to remember. But the art of the pitching and being able to, this is the more natural motion, right? And that's why softball pitchers can pitch more often. They can come back and do it, but still, your arm's going to, if I do this 300 times, Kyle, if I just keep doing this the rest of our episode, my arm's still going to get tired. And so her fortitude to continue doing that 300 pitches and get 3 wins of her 23 total wins on the year. She was the foundation for this team. The Malveaux picked her. We talked about her last summer after the Malveaux were announced. She was one of their first pickups, and she was the perfect pickup for Auburn softball. So the rest of this team, many seniors who've been through a lot with Auburn softball, had a really tremendous year when you take all things considered. I'm really looking forward to where the future of the program is.
Yeah, you look back at groups that laid foundations. Probably a very prevalent one would be that first team for Bruce Pearl with the KT Horrells and stuff like that. And so while those seniors didn't necessarily get to experience firsthand the fruits, they laid the foundation. They saw what could come, what could be in the future. And so I hope that the senior class takes that away from this year. You did get to go to the tournament. You gave Florida State a little bit of a scare. I think it was the first time they beat Florida State in a tournament setting. So that's a little check mark for your group right there. Obviously, the Auburn fans are very proud and very excited for the new era, the new opportunities that lay in front of them. And it's all because of this senior class. And of course, for the Malveaux and their staff, we're very excited to continue watching them. Season's done. We're not done covering them. We'll be talking about them much, much more as time goes on. We'll switch over to baseball because we got a lot to discuss there. I know, Austin, that we mainly want to focus on the SEC tournament because that's the good stuff, right? This is about as close as March Madness as it gets, I think, for some people at least, because of the bracket style and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about SEC tournament, but we would be remiss if we didn't address the way the season ended. First of all, what a great game versus Jacksonville State. The offense continued, and at home, the final home game. And I mean, if they wanted to prove that the weekend before wasn't a fluke, they did it and then some, just wiping the floor with Jacksonville State. You also had the amazing story of Andrew Dutton getting his very first hit. Correct me if I'm wrong, was Cade Ballou's, very inspiring home run the first game? Am I right on that?
I want to say no, but okay. I'm not positive. I want to say it was just very early, but I'm not.
It was very early.
Positive on that.
We're just going to pretend, just for the sake of the story, it was the very first.
Sure.
Book ending your season with Cade Ballou knocking home a home run the day his mother passes away. Bookend that on the other side of the season with Andrew Dutton comes to play at Auburn. Can't, because his team, Birmingham Southern, that he was playing for, doesn't exist anymore. And he's playing with his brother who came over from LSU. That's a cool enough story. But he's not even really playing that much. He's mainly participating as a first base coach. His first opportunity to first, at least at bat of the season that he gets, he hits a home run. I don't know how you can't be romantic about sports, but frankly, just about baseball. What did you just get a little tear, Austin, when you watched that?
It just how can you not be romantic about baseball? To quote my favorite movie. And you're right. It is bookended. I stand corrected. It was the first game of the year for
I
cable.
thought so.
So that's quite a home season right there. If you just take that.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was incredible. First off, bad few days to be a Gamecock if you're in Plainsman Park between South Carolina and Jacksonville State. Just barbecued them up left and right. But the story of Andrew Dutton is one of those feel-good stories that's just going to make all the sports headlines, and it certainly did for good reason. Really, really cool to see, and it caps a really good home season with all the enhancements. It feels like we talked about Plainsman Park enhancements like every episode for like a solid 6 months, waiting for it. Obviously, attendance records were going to be set. They knocked them out of the park. It was blown out of the water, and so
like
to
what
see
you did there.
all that, thank you very much. All the home season be as successful as it was is really great. And the home season is not over. I feel pretty confident saying that. It's just as we head to the postseason now, but certainly a great last home stand before their last regular season series in Oxford.
And Oxford is a little bit of trouble. Ole Miss, as we warned you, doesn't matter where you are in the SEC, you're pretty competitive. You're going to be good. Ole Miss has obviously been a team that's been much higher expectations in the last several years too. So you always got to remember that just because they may be a little bit lower in the SEC standings, you're going to their place, their house, and they're fighting for something as well. So they come away with 2 wins on the weekend. Auburn does salvage the final game. I think some people are worried that may have hurt Auburn's chances for things, but are you concerned about what you saw in Ole Miss at all? Or is it just you chalking it up to, listen, we haven't, lost an SEC series outside of being swept by Georgia and Texas. It had to happen at some point.
Yes, and on the road, like you said, at Swayze Field in Ole Miss, very popular SEC baseball atmosphere and venue. I think the bats have been scorching hot for a few games in a row. Ole Miss had some things figured out, like you said, playing for a lot. I think they're probably playing for different seed lines. Not that Auburn didn't want to win. I think they certainly did. Ike Irish certainly had no problem with his bat.
SEC Player of the Year, Ike Irish, you mean?
Yes, sir. And so I think that it was just it. You run into a team like that, and it happens in this league. I'm not concerned about them hosting a regional. I think that they are solidified in the top 16. As of right now, I think they're still solidified as a top 8 national seed. I do think that and I think this is probably Butch Thompson's message to the team. There's still some work to be done in Hoover to make sure you get that opportunity. Make sure you have the potential to host a super regional for the first time in Plainsman Park history. So I think there's plenty left to play for. We talk about this with basketball. You likened it to March Madness earlier. Losses as you get kind of further down before it's really nut crunch time are not terrible to kind of recheck and recalibrate. So I think it's not the worst thing. It certainly stings, but there's a lot to play for, and it all starts this week.
That's a great segue into what we want to cover here in our last bit of this segment. The SEC tournament is at hand, and it'll be back in Hoover, Alabama. I love that it's in the home state for Auburn, and certainly that does bode well for Auburn, for Alabama, and close universities like Mississippi State, maybe Nashville, yes, Vanderbilt, things like that. But it's usually very well attended. I haven't looked at the weather outlook for the week, but hopefully it will cooperate because they are having to smash more teams in this year. Everybody's playing, right? I don't think there's anybody left out of the mix. Everybody's in. There's no one left out. Here we go. No more double eliminations, right? I'm correct on that too?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to bring that up. No more double elimination. It's in the past. It's been single elim until you get to like 8, 10 left. It's always been bonkers. But it is single elimination the whole way through now with 16 teams. The SEC tournament in Hoover is really near and dear to my heart. It's where I grew up. I have many fond memories of skipping class and skipping school to go to the SEC tournament with my buddies. Getting statute of limitations is passed. Okay. When I get sunburnt all day long, and look, the weather cooperating, you better hope, because that thing has been known, whether it's extra innings or rain delays or whatever, is known to cause things to go deep into the night. I've been at the SEC tournament, the Hoover Mets, till 3 a.m. at times.
Wow.
And look, we're going to talk about it here. The Auburn's path in a minute. Auburn is the late game on Wednesday night. If that thing starts before 10:30, we're sitting in a good spot.
I'm just telling you right now, folks, y'all better saddle up because we want Auburn to win. And if they win, you're going to be spending some late nights is all I'm going to say.
y'all get that URL for Magic Mind? Because you might need it.
You might need it. You are Auburn Experience at magicmind.com / Auburn Experience one more time for them. So we're sitting here with the SEC tournament bracket in front of us right now. You're looking at this thing. I'll get our predictions in a second. I'm not going to let you go without a prediction, but just,
oh boy,
what do you see? Is there anything that sticks out to you? We've already talked about the whole double elimination thing not being there. It is just one game all the way through, but you're playing 4 games, on everybody in the not one team, but there are 4 games on the first 2 days, and then they'll split them up and do 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and then 2 on Saturday, and then the championship on Sunday. Any matchups or seedings that you have an issue with? Anything stick out to you?
Looking at it as Auburn is the 6th seed in SEC, you definitely do. I think that's why I don't buy the fact that Auburn was lackadaisical in Oxford. I think they had a chance to bump up to not have to play till Thursday.
Yeah.
But they're stuck playing on Wednesday, which is, like the SEC basketball tournament. Sometimes you need to get in a groove and play earlier and see how things going, especially now in a single elimination tournament. Auburn's draw, I don't know. Mississippi State and Texas A&M are both teams who've had a lot of success in this league. Certainly Auburn's had a better year than both of them. But either one of those is going to be a fight. So you're coming out the gate starting hot no matter what. If you get past there, you've got an LSU team that you feel really good against.
Hey, you swept.
You swept. You haven't had a problem with them so far this year. LSU is one of those teams who will bring a lot of people to Hoover.
Yep.
There'll be weird things happening if that game, which is going to be the last game of the day on Friday, if that game comes out.
Oh, a late night game potentially with
Ooh,
Auburn and
Lord have
LSU. The
Lord have
things that
mercy.
can happen,
There's
and it's
gonna be
baseball.
Raccoons and what was their thing? Possums, and they'd
What?
probably bring out voodoo balls. You don't remember LSU's rally possum from a few years ago?
No, I do not remember this.
Oh, you got to go look that up. They had a possum run out on the field, and then they just started carrying possums everywhere. Only LSU. But I think it's set for a fun week. The single elimination I hate it. I really don't like it. I think that it kind of takes away of the baseball atmosphere. You can have a bad 9 innings. And baseball is just different. But with 16 teams, it is what it is. So do you like 16, or would you rather somebody be kicked out to stay at 14 or at 12 or whatever you think?
I'd like to do this year first to see what it feels like.
Correct.
Do I feel that anything's left out? But I am still leaning towards double elimination because it's unique, right? Like we get traditional bracket style in basketball, and I think it works really well. And not that it can't work for baseball, but there's something kind of special that you have each round, essentially a different style of how you eliminate people, double eliminations and reseeding. And all. I know that's in the tournament, but I would like to see this year first before I make a final decision, but I'm leaning towards I prefer double elimination.
Me too.
But then you would have to eliminate 4 teams for that to work, I guess. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Unless you go back to what they did last year, the year before with single elimination till a certain point, and then it's double. But
yeah,
I don't know. Look, Missouri's had a rough year. But if they go on a run here, well, good for them. But I mean, if a team is being willing, or if there's a team that's validated to not make the SEC tournament, it's Missouri.
It's poor little Missouri. Before prediction,
I'll be pulling for them their first game. I'll be MIZ, but
MIZ. I thought you said MICKEY MOUSC. I was like, whoa, wrong show.
That happens during the day, though. Don't worry.
That happens during the day. So we got obviously Georgia and Texas on the opposite side of the bracket. For now. I mean, yeah, because you
That's great.
don't. Yeah, that's a great thing. So that you don't switch over onto the other side of the bracket, leave them over there. That's the two teams that swept you. Leave them over there. Let them eliminate each other. All right, prediction time. Who is Auburn playing on Wednesday in your predictions?
Mississippi State.
I'm going to say Texas A&M. I'm just going to
fine.
go out.
You just wanted to do that. You just want to be different than me.
No. I wonder if someone's going to take advantage of this opportunity when they probably should. Well, 14 seed would have been there, I guess, because 15 and no, they wouldn't have. Somebody who wasn't supposed to be there is going to take advantage of it. I'm going to say it's Texas A&M. They've had a rough year and kind of fallen off, losing their head coach, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say Auburn versus Texas A&M. So you have Mississippi State. I have Texas A&M. Who wins in yours?
I think Auburn will get one win, especially the first win, especially. And I think that'll be enough officially to get them their top 8 national seed.
I think you got to really plan and believe that's the case. So I'm going to also plan on Auburn winning that first game against Texas A&M. Maybe that's why I'm picking them. So in theory, it would be easier. So we have Auburn and LSU meeting up. The question we have before us, Austin, in our prediction: can Auburn do the impossible, beat them a 4th time this year, and stay undefeated?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's 4 times in a row.
I don't know.
You hadn't swept LSU since the 80s. Now we're going to have a 4-game sweep. I don't know. I don't think so. I think LSU in the SEC tournament is one of those things that's just like that's their thing. They come to play. It's kind of like Kentucky or Tennessee in the SEC basketball tournament. There's going to be more Cajuns there than we know what to do with. And so I'm going to say no for now. And I think Auburn probably bows out, but comes back home to Plainsman Park and hosts a regional.
Let me give you some food for thought on this. Let's assume Auburn makes it there. Nothing's given to Auburn versus LSU.
Sure.
Sam Dutton pitching against his former team.
Yeah, I mean, that's the storyline to write it, right?
It's almost like somebody planned it that way. It's like the same thing when magically in basketball, Auburn and Alabama are the last game of the season, or Auburn and Tennessee the same year they're supposed to be the league leaders. Can't tell me this isn't about making money. Anyway, hopefully Auburn and LSU are facing there. What do you think?
I'm picking LSU.
I'm going to say Auburn. I'm going to say Auburn.
Okay,
I'm saying
go
Auburn.
for it.
I'm going to do
Go
it. I'm
for
going
it.
with it. Auburn makes it today, well, their 3rd day in a row, to face what may be, if it goes chalk, Arkansas, who is the number 2 seed in that bracket. If I'm looking at it correctly, my eyes aren't failing me. Unless you disagree, anybody else you think comes out of that?
I'm going to say Ole Miss goes on a run, and Ole Miss gets there to the semifinal, takes down Arkansas, and gets there.
So you have already eliminated Auburn. I would then, I'm not going to go Ole Miss, but if you had continued to have been Auburn versus Ole Miss, that would have been a really good kind of let's get them back.
Yeah, I think so.
I do think this is as far as Auburn will go in the tournament. I think they're capable, as they've shown, very competitive with the SEC this year, but that's where I'll predict they'll stop. So I'm going to say it's probably going to be Arkansas. But I guess as a final prediction, who do you think wins the whole tournament?
I'll say Texas. I mean, that's not any fun to say the number 1 overall seed is going to win, but they're a machine, and they're playing good baseball. So it's kind of weird, but first tournament for the Texas Longhorns in the SEC, I think they'll probably take it.
They also made their first SEC championship game in football.
Yes, they did.
Lord, there's no living with these people.
No.
Anyway, that's fine. They can have that. So we'll see how the SEC tournament goes.
Who are you picking? Who's your champ? Who's your champ?
I'm sorry, Texas. Yeah, I thought it was just foregone conclusion at this point.
Okay.
So.
That's okay. Be interesting to see how many of them show up. Like that's far away.
It's far away, but they're pretty excited about their new coach in this season and their first year in the SEC. We'll see if it all predicts out the way one of us said. Things like that all ends the same way, whether we said it or not in our predictions. But you guys let us know yours, and certainly saddle up for a very fun week of SEC baseball. In our final topic, this episode.
Oh dear.
Just get ready. We're stepping into it here. I actually enjoy these topics because I like tackling, I want to call them difficult conversations, but just where there's a lot of discussion points It should be discussion, never let me one up you and this type of stuff. But we're going to tackle today something that transpired on social media, just across the internet, and in, I'm sure, forums and stuff about that. And it's around comments that were made about the football team, expectations, and then at the end, we'll probably give out where we feel like we would recommend you as Auburn football fans think about the expectations. For context, we're sitting here in May of 2025 before the 2025 season is even beginning to be a thing. So long to go, folks. Settle down in your true season predictions. By the way, some of y'all are way too obsessed about that. I have to hear it every day. But what we're going to do actually is talk about some comments that were made by Coach Hugh Freeze when he visited with the Next Round Live. I believe it was at the charity golf event, the Regions Classic this week. So
Regions Tradition, yeah.
Regions Tradition. Thank you very much for charity. Always glad that our Auburn coaches go and support that, and the other regional coaches as well, even the Alabama coach. But there were comments that were made by him that fans, media certainly had discussions about. And well, maybe let me not lead anywhere. This comes courtesy of the Next Round Live. We're going to go and play it for you guys. And we'll talk about it a little bit afterwards. If I can get it, there we go.
Going into this season, does it feel a little bit different? Do you feel like, hey, I've got to win X amount of games?
I'm not a fool. I think we've got to go to a bowl game, and I think our administration understands. Look, I inherited a program that didn't have a top 25 recruiting class for 4 years. You're not going to win in this league. We've had now 2 full recruiting classes, both top 10. I think one more than your roster looks complete, but I'm still not naive. And we should have won some games last year that we could have won some games. I shouldn't say we should. We could have won some games last year. And we've got to find a way to make sure we're excellent in those areas that cost us those, that put us in a position to be at least bowl eligible, if not more. And I see no reason why we shouldn't do that. And I think that's an expectation that our people should expect. And I don't sit around feeling like that puts a lot of pressure on me. Look, I'm blessed. And I'm blessed to be at one of the greatest universities, to live in one of the greatest towns, to work for some of the greatest people. And our administration's awesome. My family, I have all 3 daughters there and grandkids. So, whatever the outcome of all of that is, that will be okay. Obviously, I'm a competitor, and I want to deliver to the Auburn people, and it's time for us to start doing that.
All right. Again, thank you to the Next Round Live for that clip. Lot was said after that clip. I'm going to be honest with you. Austin and I have talked about it a little bit, so we kind of know where each other stands on this. I think you're probably in a group of, this is most things. There's 2 sides, and then there's a neutral point in this. I definitely find myself on one side of the discussion point after watching this and seeing the commentary about it. I think Austin, after talking to him, is more neutral, but maybe sees some points of the other side of this. Just to be frank with you guys, a lot of people took issue with what Hugh Freeze said at this charity event. And I don't know if it was clear, but the context of that was they were asking basically, what do you feel the pressure essentially for your job this year, and based off of win totals and things like that. If I said anything untrue yet, Austin, about setting this up and our discussion about it?
No, I mean, I think that, especially after this has come out and blown up so weak, even though it's a minute 20 or something like that, there's still a lot of people who haven't even watched that whole thing. Right. They're just seeing a printed out sentence or 2 sentences from the beginning of that clip, which is important, but also not context. There's also a clip, thanks to the Next Round Live for doing those interviews. There's also an even longer clip of their entire conversation with him. And even that minute 20 got cut off at the very end. So, as we talk about a lot with press conferences and whatnot, context is key. But no, nothing you said has been inaccurate.
So I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of people took issue with this. And my first reaction was, what's the big deal? I know the second I just said that, half of you hate me. Half of you hate this show now, probably going to stop listening. If that's your perspective and you can't handle the difference of opinion, I don't probably not say too much more after that. Look, we're here about talking about things. We don't have to be on the same side. Austin and I tend to be on the same side of most of these things. I think this is probably one of those few times where you and I might actually kind of shift a little bit away from each other, not necessarily too much, but just you're more in the center on this one. I'll be honest with you. Some of y'all need to get some perspective on things and some context and some reality about your overreactions to things that are said but also aren't said as well. I can expound on it more, but I don't want to make this all about me, because I obviously, as the manager of this, get to put my perspective out there more than anybody else's. So let me give the floor to Austin, and you talk about whatever you want. Again, this is all about, we're keeping things in perspective, respect to the Next Round Live, to Coach Hugh Freeze, to those who had commentary on it in the media as well. This is no shots at anybody. This is just being real about this. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it when it came out, and I think my first initial reaction was more of like, oh, I don't know if I would have said that if I being Coach Freeze. Not so much of like, I can't believe he said that, or this is unbelievable, but just like I in my day job, I'm a communications person. I'm very, I'm attuned to the PR side of things, and how things come across, the appearance of things. And so for me, it was more that angle at first. I thought that is not the best way I would have answered that question. Now,
Sure.
Look, and like you said, this is weird. I respect the Next Round guys a lot. They are from my home area. I grew up listening to a lot of them for a long time. The question was laid out there for something like this. Do you feel the expectation to win X amount of games? Coach Freeze has been doing public interviews for a lot longer than I have. He's done many, many, many more than I have.
Right.
He is certainly more of an expert on it than that. I think that his answer could have been a little bit better to avoid some of this reaction while still getting his point across. I think him saying we should get to a bowl game is layered a couple times. I think he's looking immediately after the fact of saying, hey, I just didn't get to a bowl game just now. So that's step one for us. But at the same time, I think it shows, or it gives off a certain level of that's where he feels the bar is at. And I'm not saying that's accurate. I'm just saying that's kind of the reaction that comes from that when you hear that, especially if you don't watch the entire clip. But I think that there's truth on both sides. I think he'd be the first person to tell you, and he does in that clip, that both wins have to come. There are wins that could have / should have been won last year. And there are certainly wins that are to come or need to come in the immediate future for his job, but also that's the trajectory that we love to talk about on the show, that where Auburn football is at is recruiting's piled up. He talked about that, and I've seen people get upset about that factually or correct or statistically, that what he said is not accurate, that he did not inherit 4 straight 25 seasons. However, most, if not all of those top 25 classes that he did not mention transferred out before he got here. And many of those impact players are no longer, he did not inherit. Now, I get, if we're going letter of the law, that is not, what he said is not accurate. But the premise behind it, I think, is what he meant. And so for me, it's more of, I think he knows wins have to come. If it were me, I would not have put a specific number. I think that there's a way to say, our people expect wins. I expect wins, and we haven't gotten it done. And we expect to be much better than we were last year and the year before. I think that in this day and age, and especially us coming off of a coach in Gus Malzahn that got a lot of slack for coach speak, and a lot of what's my word here? A lot of
sorry, Mr. PR. I don't know.
Yeah, took a lot of hate for not being very transparent.
Sure.
And I think it's very flip side with Coach Freeze, is he is very transparent, which is very good in a lot of ways. I think that it might have led to some of this reaction here of him just kind of speaking in his mind. But there's a way to kind of balance that, and I think it could have been leveraged better here. Now, I want to reiterate what I've already said. That I think Coach Freeze understands more than anybody that wins need to come. And I don't think his goal for the 2025 season is to get to a bowl game. I don't believe it in the least bit. I think he has far higher aspirations. The talent he's brought in has far higher aspirations. And we'll talk about where we feel like expectations should be here in a second. But that's kind of my general consensus on it. I see both sides. I see the outrage at what was verbally said, but I also see that there's probably a meaning behind what he said that wasn't correctly articulated as well. And so like Kyle mentioned, I'm somewhere down the middle on it.
And I'm glad that you actually got to be the one to spend most of the time talking about this aspect, because I think you have a great perspective where you come from on it, given your day job, and can argue both sides of this equation. So I'm not saying that it couldn't have been said differently. I'm not saying that clearly, factually, based off that top 25 comment, there was something not right there.
Sure.
I think sometimes we listen for what we want to hear. And even when someone misspeaks, we automatically assume, well, they could have we don't assume they could have misspoken. And they were trying to make a point, and they technically said something factually incorrect, but that's not what they meant. And if you look at someone's full body of work, which we stress that y'all do, that's why we stress watching press conferences. You can get to know the coach, get to know the way they speak, get to know what their points they're trying to make. This is not out of line with what he's been saying the entire time. He's been asking, he's been telling for year 3 and 4 is where he wants to be able to begin to be measured by it. And frankly, that is very reasonable. I had no issues with what was said. I'm frankly shocked by some people that did. And that's fine, because that's their opinion. They're allowed to have it. They're allowed to express it how they would. I could give some pointers about how I think you could have handled it differently. But I think it's just one of those things, folks. We're sitting in the off season. People are ready to talk about some things. I know, even though people give me flack for being tired of talking about season predictions this early, you also are tired of talking about that. Well, if we're overreacting about this was nowhere near needing to be overreacted. This was a simple comment that was easy to take out of context. The dude knows he needs to win. We all know he needs to win. Nobody knows that better than Coach Freeze, his staff, and his players, and they're going to do their best to do that. So if you're already looking to be on the negativity bandwagon, be my guest. It's a crazy way to live. Have fun with that. But I would be someone here that gives people the benefit of the doubt and my full support until they prove otherwise. And that's where I kind of stand on it right now. But certainly, we're all entitled to our opinions. Very quickly, where should people's expectations be at? This is not season predictions, Austin. This is simply where should we place our expectations this far out, because so many people are talking about it for Auburn football.
Yeah, I just did a quick search because I thought I saw this week, but I wanted to be sure. I do not live and die by what Vegas says. I just want to make that clear. But I do think they are very smart people, and to make their money one way or the other, they're going to figure it out. Right now, they set Auburn's win total at 7.5. I think it's about right there. I think it's 8 is what I would be expecting, 7 or 8 if I'm an Auburn fan, with the amount, knowing what I know about the talent that's come in and knowing what I know about, the fit of this team, and kind of on top of the freshman recruiting class, but also the transfer portal of putting all the cogs together. I like Auburn's schedule this year. Look, folks, if you know Auburn football, it's an odd year. It's an odd year, as in the number is 2025. That means Georgia and Bama come to Jordan-Hare. I'm not saying they get them both. I'm just saying it's a lot more likely that they get one than in an even year. So I like Auburn's chances this year. As we sit on May 18th, we got a long way to go. We got a lot of potential injuries. We got a lot of potential breakout guys come through camp, and we'll see what happens. But 7-8 wins, I'm perfectly happy with that being the expectation, with the potential to be more, because I certainly believe this Auburn team, should things go the right way, can achieve much more.
And I'll say this again, these are not season predictions. This is us just trying to satiate some of y'all, your obsession about record predictions this early in the season. But again, this is not a record prediction. I look at it as such. Until we get to fall, there's really no business even looking at this and taking it seriously. It's not all just for clicks. Some of it is, but in essence, this is the way I operate. I believe Auburn football is a program, no matter who the coach is, no matter what time of being it is, especially in the modern era, is capable, because of resources, because of support, because of facilities, because of just history of recruiting, history of success, is always capable of hitting 8-4 as a bare minimum. Does
Agreed.
that mean if they hit 8-4, or if they hit below 8-4, that necessarily means that they have failed, or no, because there's a lot of context that's missing from that. Does that mean if they overshoot by and go 10-2 or undefeated, that some other side of the equation was wrong? So not necessarily. I just think Auburn fans should be able to expect 8-4 as a minimum on most years until things change one way or the other. That's not saying that is what my benchmark is. That's not what Hugh Freeze was saying either in that. That is simply me saying I think 8-4 is attainable as a bare minimum every single year. Let's see what the context says, though. So we hope that helps a lot of you understand where we're coming from on the commentary that was made on our thought process as we head into the offseason officially. So miles and miles to go before we sleep, before we even get to record predictions. But there will be plenty of time for us to talk about that even more on coming episodes of the Auburn Experience. We want to thank you all for tuning in for episode 125 and hanging out with us live, listening on the regular portion of this. Stick with us. As a quick reminder, the plan for us right now next week is actually not to do the show on Sunday, but to do it on Memorial Day, Monday, probably around the same time. We'll keep you updated on social media, 9 Eastern time. But we're going to do a little bit of a shift for some schedule needs this upcoming weekend. But we thank you guys for being flexible, our audience that's there, but looking for Monday next week. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you want to keep up with me on X at Kyle Loomis 24, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can keep up with me at X on Instagram at Austin G. Scott. Side note, happy birthday to my father. He's normally in the comment section. I haven't seen him tonight, so he's probably out having some big party rager, I'm sure. But happy 64th birthday to the man who taught me all I need to know about Auburn Experience, and even more so, happy birthday, Dad / Papa. I hope Abby gives you a big hug today.
Oh, there you go. Little birthday wishes. I didn't know he was a fellow May birthday person. We're the best ones, after all. So,
Sure.
happy birthday, Mr. Scott. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody being here and hanging out with us on the Auburn Experience. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, that is the end of the show. Austin, do you have any final notes from yourself? I'm going to do some quick updates with the guys once you're done because I got to get out of here too. But, there he was. There
he is.
There
Dr.
he was.
Scott.
Birthday boy.
Birthday boy.
All right, final thoughts from you, sir.
I got nothing.
Okay.
I'm good. It's my last week of school this week. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
It can't
All
come
right.
soon enough.
Well, you all need to appreciate Austin for him keeping the boat steady while I was freaking out pre-show with my thing falling apart.
Ooh,
so
it was touch and go there, folks.
It was a rough thing to watch, I'm sure, for him. So anyway, thank you guys for your flexibility tonight as well. Austin, thanks for hanging out.
All right. Talk to you later. War Eagle.
War Eagle. All right, we're not going to have time for our traditional Q&A time. We started way late because I had technical difficulties tonight, so I do apologize for that in advance. But just as some quick reminders for you as we end out our show this evening. By the way, there was some funny commentary during the middle of our show, WT. I'm looking at you and many others as well. But thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us this evening. Smash the like button if you haven't, the share button, all those good things. Next scheduled live stream is Auburn Family Night live call-in show. We'll certainly be talking about SEC baseball. Keep in mind, folks, that Auburn is technically scheduled to start a game around our start time for that show. We will adjust accordingly. We may go even while it's happening. We will figure it out. But right now, expect it to be live, 9 Eastern time, Wednesday night, Auburn Family Night. We're definitely going to be talking about the full Auburn experience. But a lot of that Auburn, or the, well, yes, Auburn, but SEC baseball tournament for 2025. And keep in mind, as we said, there will be an adjustment next week, likely for Monday, not Sunday, for the next live recording of the Auburn Experience podcast, episode 126. I want to thank our sponsor again, Magic Mind, for helping support us. Please support them. It helps support us by visiting magicmind.com/the Auburn Experience and use our code Auburn Experience. Those links will be in the description if you need them here on YouTube. Thank you for hanging out tonight and our patience with the start of the show. You guys are the best little family within the Auburn family, and we appreciate you so much. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.